Hello and welcome to the Creative Cow Show. Today we are speaking with Morgan Prygrocki, the Senior Strategic Development Manager at Adobe. Morgan is going to tell us all about the new Premiere Pro Best Practices Guide for long-form episodic filmmakers. Thank you for joining us, Morgan. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me.
Behind this Premiere Pro Best Practices Guide, what was the impetus for Adobe putting this together for everyone?
Yes, so this has certainly been a team effort that has spanned the course of several years at this point. And it's really the amalgamation of a lot of hard work from Adobe engineers, a lot of industry veterans, and award-winning editors. And this guide is really meant to offer a deep dive into the essential features of Premiere Pro that have shaped a lot of award-winning feature film and TV workflows over the course of the last several years. So this guide is really meant for editors, assistant editors, and visual effects teams. It's not just for new users, it's also for seasoned users as well. So it's meant to be, sort of a best practice guide in terms of anybody that's looking for how-to information or just any refresher information instead of having to, filter through a lot of the various information that's available online today.
And any highlights from the Premiere Pro Best Practices Guide that you'd like to touch on?
Yeah, sure. So the best practice guide really does cover the entire workflow chain, all the way through dailies, best practices, and hardware and settings. So if you're getting started with a project and have questions on what the best computer hardware might be given your project, all the way through to some of the more complex workflows, such as working with After Effects using dynamic link and turnovers as well. There's also a really, really in-depth chapter on Premiere Pro Productions as well, which isn't brand new. It was first introduced in 2020, in April of 2020, I believe, which came out just in time for the pandemic, which was initially really designed to be an on-prem workflow, but has since been really adapted into a number of different hybrid and remote environments as well. And it's also been battle tested on a number of large feature films like Netflix's Mank, Mindhunter, Dolomite Is My Name, and the latest A24 show, Everything Everywhere All at Once as well, just to name a few. So it's I'd say Productions is probably one of the best chapters, or at least the most useful chapters for a lot of the folks that we've been working with. But it really does cover anything that you would need to know based on long form episodic and feature film workflows.
Many of the tips contained in this best practices guide, I noticed, seem to like they must have stories behind them. Was it an amalgamation of questions from users or trial and error or both that kind of set this guide into motion?
Yeah, so part of the team that I'm a part of, where most of us are based in Los Angeles, but we are a global team. We have folks in Europe and Asia as well. We're really focused on driving more of the feature film and episodic workflows, and we are in touch with a lot of different folks working on various types of long form production. And what we've noticed is there's really a lot of variables and options and a lot of opinions online for all of the different options that a lot of post-production professionals are faced with today. So based on a lot of these valued experiences that we've had over the years of working with a lot of these creative professionals directly, it's been clear to us that with all of the different sources of information that exist online, it can sometimes be challenging and overwhelming to try to navigate what that best solution will be. So yes, I would say a lot of this has been driven by our users contacting us, wanting to know what options are available to them. And we really just wanted to provide kind of the definitive guide on what we've learned, as a collective base of users throughout the years, and what we've learned from a lot of our various interactions as well.
And do you think that Adobe will be putting out other best practices guides possibly for After Effects or Photoshop?
It's a great question. So I think because there's so much information that exists today in terms of documentation for After Effects and Photoshop, A lot of this information is already present. Actually, and I would even say the same goes for Frame.io as well. Frame.io has a lot of really great video how-to videos, as well as written documentation where we've noticed that specific with Premiere, because there are so many other factors that post-production professionals are faced with a lot of these workflows, that was really the priority. I'll say never, but given that there's already so much information online that exists today with After Effects and Photoshop, a lot of our users are pretty well supported in that space.
So how does Adobe see the best practices guide for Premiere Pro assisting editors and post-production teams moving forward?
Yeah, so because we've worked with a lot of industry veterans to write the guide, there have been instances where folks are really using it as kind of that reference that they need if they're working on a job and want to just do a quick gut check of searching the document for am I doing this the right way? Do I really have the best hardware? It's really meant to be kind of an accompaniment to those types of users. But alternatively, if you're a brand new user that's always wanted to learn Premiere and you want to dive into learning more of the specific workflows that Premiere offers, this is also a great guide for you. This isn't something that is only dedicated to existing Premiere Pro experts. I'll say that even as a new user to say something like Premiere Pro Productions, this guide will give you a really good step-by-step how to properly set up a project that's not going to create any sort of headaches for you later on down the pipeline. So it's really meant to be that reference and that extra security blanket for a lot of folks that if they have questions, they've got an easy, accessible way of looking it up.
Is the Adobe Premiere Pro Best Practices Guide available in any other languages beside English?
Yes, thank you for asking. So one thing that our team has also recognized is that, especially with all of the effort that a lot of streaming platforms have done to globalize the creation of narrative content in markets across the globe, it was not lost on us that we also would like to provide this resource to folks in other regions that are producing long form narrative content as well. So there are plans to localize this guide in 9 different languages to support all of those various markets. So we will be rolling those guides out over the next couple of months as well. So it's not just the North American and UK user base that gets to take advantage of these tips.
Well, I think this is a really exciting development, and it's going to be very useful and helpful to editors and post-production professionals everywhere. Thank you so much, Morgan, for joining us today.
Thanks so much.